Mark, everybody asks, what do you do?
I consider myself a key business strategist, critical thinker, and financial advisor to entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial thinking people. I think what we really do is we take care of people. I always hoped we'd be successful, or at least I thought we might be. We just try and bring so much joy and abundance to the world and just make a difference in the lives of all the people that we touch.
In this day and age, it's not easy for everyone. There's a lot of division and there's a lot of upset and there's also a lot of joy. What would you say would be your number one piece of advice? What would you say to people starting out or reinventing themselves in a climate like this?
I always think that the number one thing is that for most people, they think of their problems as permanent, but their problems are temporary.
I can only speak for me, Dave, but this is a hard thing to be doing. We're going through a lot of life right now. And just like everybody else, I think we think that everybody else's lives are going perfectly. And you just go to work and have a clear head and there's nothing else going on behind the scenes. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. This is Elevate Wellness, and I'm Lisa. And this is
Mark Murphy.
And we just thought it would be super cool, since we are doing this podcast together, to do this podcast together. And what I'm really excited about is to have Mark, I guess in his own words, talk about what he does. People say all the time, what do you guys do? What does Mark do? How do you do what you do? And, I can tell you what we do, or you can hear from Mark, I guess, the dynamic of how we do what we do on a daily basis, which I will say right now in this moment, I can only speak for me, Dave, but this is a hard thing to be doing. We're going through a lot of life right now. And just like everybody else, I think we think that everybody else's lives are going perfectly. And you just go to work and have a clear head and there's nothing else going on behind the scenes. And one of the things that I'm most proud about with my husband is that no matter what, he practices emotional fitness. He keeps it together. He does what he needs to do for not only for me and our family, but for all of his clients and business partners. So, Mark, everybody asks, what do you do? And I do my best, but what do you do?
Well, first of all, I would just say that I consider myself a key business strategist, critical thinker, and financial advisor to entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial thinking people. But that's sort of the standard answer, or sort of the answer you give a potential new client or referral source. I think what we really do is we take care of people. And when I founded Northeast Private Client Group almost 40 years ago, I always hoped we'd be successful, or at least I thought we might be. I thought we'd make money, or at least I hoped we would. But this was really my vehicle to make other people's lives better. And I think, one of the reasons that you and I connected and have built, such abundance together, not only as a couple, but as a family and in business, has been just because we wake up every day trying to help as many people as we can. And we just try and bring so much joy and abundance to the world and just make a difference in the lives of all the people that we touch. And I think that that's the joy is, as all my Jewish friends, the joy is in the giving, the joy is in the mitzvah. And so I think that's what gets us both excited every day, is to do those things for people. And I think that's one of the ways we connect with other people.
And what do you think in this day and age, with things being hard for people? It's not easy for everyone. And there's a lot of division and there's a lot of upset and there's also a lot of joy. What would you say would be your number one piece of advice, or what would you say to people starting out or reinventing themselves in a climate like this?
That's almost unlimited what you could say. But I think if somebody, you said, I heard in that question, you said something about people going through a tough time, and to me, I always think that the number one thing is that for most people, they think of their problems as permanent, but their problems are temporary. And they think that it's pervasive, meaning if it's happening to them, it's happening to everybody, and the world is coming to an end. And I think that ultimately, what I've learned in my life, one of the best lessons I ever learned was that, when something bad happens to you or something unfortunate happens to you, you have to deal with it, because if you ignore it, it'll just keep coming back. But I think that after you deal with it and put it in its proper perspective, I think my mind immediately goes to, well, what's great about that? Like when I remember when one of the kids broke up with one of their significant others, it was, I thought it was okay that they mourned the loss of that relationship. But I think immediately I try to get their mind to go to place to say, well, what's great about that is, I haven't had a lot of time to do some of the things I wanted because of this relationship. Or, now it'll give me the opportunity to meet the person that's the right person for me. And because this person isn't, and I wish that person well, and immediately went from mourning the relationship in the appropriate place to talking about what the possibilities of the future is, because the future is great. It's a great life, and it's a great place, and it's what you make of it. And I just enjoy every day. I love you so much, and you brought so much to my life. And I think both of us were confirmed bachelors until at least till we met each other. And I knew instantly that I didn't want to be single after I met you. And
No.
so that's my story. That's my story. I'm going to stick to it.
I think there's so much in what you just said, and I say the same thing all the time. In this moment, right in this moment, there's nothing more than what we can do, and we're doing it. And there's still joy and sadness can exist in the same moment in time. So can pleasure and pain. And I always talk about living in compartments. We have to put things in compartments. And sometimes there is a part of our life that takes up more time than something else. And it's when knowing when to move from one domain to the next, whether it's our health, whether it's family, whether it's business, whether it's talking about a new idea, whether it's not talking about anything at all and watching some stupid show together or going to a fun concert. I think that's what we've really done well, that we can go literally, no, we did go to the Wars concert. It was so bad. I'm not even telling you who we saw, but it was pretty bad, but we had the best time. And the kids had the best time watching us just be goofy and dance and try to sing and enjoy it, even though it wasn't what we expected. And I think you do a great job. You make me laugh all the time of finding things to laugh at, finding those moments to be funny, that even when it's really serious, I mean, as humans, we have to laugh, and I think what you do brilliantly is you remind us all not to take ourselves too seriously. And, we can laugh and kind of cry at the same time.
Well, I think at the end of the day, there's nothing. Hubris is like the most obnoxious characteristic that anybody has, and I kind of think when you start to believe your own bullshit, the world has a way of telling you you're not all that. And so I think you can take what you do seriously. You can take your responsibility seriously. You can take the obligation seriously, but you don't take yourself seriously. And I think you just want to enjoy yourself. And I have to tell you, I remember where I came from, and I grew up dumb and broke in Suffolk, New York, and so I'm always that guy, and I always I always root hard for the little guy.
Mark, what's most important to you right now at this stage in your life?
I think we've been divorced. I was divorced and single for 15 years. And I think that the most fundamental part of the relationship is the relationship between you and I. And, not that we don't argue, not that I don't drive you crazy. I think we've had about 2,600 fights. I've yet to win one. I'm over 2,600. I'm hoping to win one.
It's easy. It's over quickly when I say I'm right? And then he says yes, and then it's over.
I'm hoping in the next couple of years I could win one. I'm still trying. At least I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful, aspirational guy. But I also think when you make a commitment to a marriage and a family, I think that's the foundational relationship. And not that the 5 children aren't important, that the 5 children are uber important, and not that our friends and other family aren't important, they super are, and our businesses and our charitable endeavors and all the things that we do for other people. But I think that, to me, the mindset I think that we both have is that neither of us are going anywhere. And so the idea, it's the option is not to say "F you, I'm leaving." So if you know that leaving is not an option, you have to work it out, and you have to work it out. Even if you get mad, you have to work it out. And I think that's incredibly powerful, because it puts parameters around the fact of, at the end of the day, we're still going to be together. And so we might as well have the best relationship we can. We might as well bring as much joy to each other as we can, and then to all the people in our lives, and just create the best life that we can for each other. And I think that's the most important thing for me, because I think, if we're really good, I think the kids are really good. And I think, then you go to work happy, you go to every event happy, you show up better as a friend and a brother and a parent and everybody else. So to me, that's very important. And I didn't have that. I was single for 15 years, and you were single for a decade. So I think that we didn't have that.
The biggest lesson, I think, well, there's a lot of lessons, but one of the lessons that you taught me was, we can argue, we can disagree, we can, have a fight, if that's what you want to call it, as long as we do it with grace and elegance. And it's not below the line. It's hearing each other, hearing what the other person needs, and responding to that. And I know for us, one of the biggest things is, sometimes I just want Mark, oftentimes I just want Mark to listen. Like, that's it. I just want him to listen. I just want to say what's going on and talk about it. And Mark is a fixer. So he immediately goes to, this is what we'll do to take care of it. And now you'll say, I just want to give you space so I can just listen. But he hears that, and you're willing to not go into fix-it mode, or I'm willing to, preface it by saying, this is what I need from this. And I think that's what we're really good at, communicating well with each other. And I think couples, it doesn't matter how long you're together. I think sometimes people in general say we're like just not communicating well, and these are ways in which we can do a better job. And we do talk that way to each other. And I think we talk to each other the same way that we would talk to a colleague or a business partner. And sometimes, a marriage is really that. It's almost like we're running this massive unit of kids and others, and we're the sandwich generation, and you're taking care of an elderly family member, as am I, and there's just so much pulling that we how do we navigate quickly? It's by communicating needs and desires and wants, and a lot of flexibility. And I would say that's what we've mastered. That's what I'm most proud of, is that I think our kids can see us handling so much on a daily basis, and then, having fun and really laughing, like having belly laughs in the midst of all of the chaos. And I think that's one of the things that we do great.
I think we do a lot of things great, but
what else?
I think it's a learning process. It's a challenge, and I think when you have much less a new relationship, but especially for people that have been together a long time, I think it's hard to reinvent yourself to your partner. But as they're growing and you're growing and they're changing, you have to adapt. And I think that part of it is you just want to be to me, I just want to be a better partner to you today than I was yesterday, and I'd like to be a better partner to you tomorrow than I am tomorrow, the next day. And so I think that's just the thing, is that I have a burning desire, like in the things that I want to do, is not to be, is to be the best that I can be at the things I do, and just show up in the best way that I can in every area of my life. And that starts with our family. And I want to be the best father I can be. I want to be the best friend I can be. I want to be the best advisor I can be. And I want to, I just, want to impact the lives of all the people we touch.
Mark, you win. I mean, it's award after award after award. And I think what most people, and I say this to the kids all the time, I don't think you guys understand. how monumental this award is or that award is. And for you, it's, I don't want to say that you never diminish the recognition, but that's not why you do it. And I think there's so many people out there that thrive on, good or bad, it doesn't matter. They thrive on recognition. And for you, you're always in competition with yourself. Even now, you never compare yourself to I never hear you compare yourself to anyone. You do seek a lot of teachers and learn from everyone. I don't think there's any look that you have for a teacher. You understand that teachers show up in every form of life. But what still has you be so motivated when most of your friends are starting to wind down? And, I know it's not about the money. I know it's not about another award. You don't need another trophy. Really, what is it on a daily basis?
Well, first of all, I think that part of it is you can stop what you do or change what you do. You can't change who you are. And so I think that just is how I'm wired. But I go back to, everything to me, it goes back to high school basketball. I was, as you know, I got on the freshman, when I was a freshman in high school, I was probably about 5'4", about 232 pounds. And I thought I was a pretty good basketball player, but obviously at a freshman year, the coaches didn't think so. And I was cut from the freshman basketball team. And I remember, running and joining the cross country team and getting in great shape. And I was probably, by my sophomore year, I was probably about 5'9" and about 195 pounds. And I never started a game in high school until I was a senior. And by that time I was like 6'2" and 165 pounds. But I was 6'2", but I had about a 3-inch vertical leap. And we played with some players on our team that were, really great athletes. Our center played in the NBA for a while, and there were some other players that played pro baseball and, won college championships in football. So it was a very athletic team. And so I was never going to be a great athlete. I was never going to be able to, dunk, tomahawk dunk, or play above the rim like some of these guys could do. But I could outthink and I could outwork everybody. And the idea to me is that when I graduated in high school, I got the most out of my ability I could. And I thought I was a good player on a very good team. And I was the best that I could be. And why that was so freeing to me is that I really, from that point on, I never competed with other people. So it allowed me to be the best and the biggest cheerleader for everybody else. So if something good happens to me, Lisa, I want something great to happen to you. If I have $1 in my pocket, I hope you have $20 in your pocket. And so the idea is that it freed me to be that person who was truly happy for other people and their successes. And to me, it was like the most freeing experience of the whole world, because I realized I wasn't competing with other people. I was competing with being the best version of me. And that's my tale of woe.
What do you think? What do you think should be different about today's younger generation starting out, or what are things they could be doing differently to rise above the rest? There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition for schools and for sports and for that job and the best resume. And everybody that can possibly, get extra help one way or the other, whether it's a coach or tutors, or people are seeking that out. What do you think is the lesson people need to learn about fortitude when, even when you're stellar right now, you may feel mediocre because of the pressure of social media, the pressure of, in a second, we know what everybody else is getting, doing, having. What do you think?
This is where you and I
do?
sometimes agree and sometimes disagree. But I think anytime you're talking about anything external, you're losing. Like people say how hard it is, how competitive things are out there. And I think on some level that's true. But to me, on another level, I don't think it's true at all. I think if you're willing to do the work, I think if you're focused, if you're disciplined, if you're willing to show up and play full out every day, I don't think there's a lot of, I think there's very little that you can't accomplish if you're reasonably intelligent and willing to do the work. And I think that so many people are making so many excuses about how tough it is, or I've got this, or I've got this, or the other things, and they want to, that as you always say, you can either be empowered or you can be the victim. And I think too many people are the victim, and they've got the opportunity to go do great things in their own life. And I think that the thing that I hope that I try to be for other people, I know you try to be for other people, and I hope that anybody who's watching this could do this for just one person today, is how amazing it is if you just have one person in your life that believes in you. That your superpower is that you see people where they are. So you can't see people like with rose-colored glasses or Pollyannish. You have to see them who they are.
Mm.
But if you believe it, but if you're somebody that believes in that person so viscerally that they believe in themselves, wow, that's the most powerful gift I think you can give somebody. And imagine if you do that a couple of times a day, how many people's lives you can change with just a kind word or just belief, and not false belief, or not, but truly care about that person, and wish them and hope and believe in them that they can be the best that they can be.
So what part do we not agree on in all of that? Because
I think I get anytime somebody is like making like I don't believe I never believe in making excuses for the kids or for myself. It's all Yoda. It's either do or do not do. There is no try. And to me, it's always going to happen. It's either going to happen easy or it's going to happen hard, but it's going to happen if you make up your mind to do it. Now, occasionally it doesn't happen, but I'll die trying. It's never in my mindset that failure is an option. And so I think that so many people, they beat themselves because they make an excuse. My parents got divorced, or I had allergies as a child, or or this or that, or some other got in a car accident, or I don't know. I'm not making stuff up. But I think the idea to me is, I think, who cares? And I think, in life, I think the hard thing is why you really have to keep your friends close and see who your friends are, is because I always find that sometimes when you talk about competition, not everybody's happy for your success. I think, you always say you always say if you got a powerful family, you get half their friends and all their enemies. And sometimes when something bad happens to them, they're, half the people don't care, and the other half are happy. And so, I think that's a little cynical. But I think at the same point is that, why, it doesn't matter that this thing happened to you. It is just another obstacle, and it should not even enter your mind in terms of what you need to do to succeed. So I hate when somebody uses excuses, because I think anytime somebody uses some kind of excuse or external things to justify something, I think they're losing.
Yeah, and I know this is where we're always on the same page. No matter what we're given to, no matter what we have to deal with in life, it's choice. It always comes to choice. It's the power to choose how we think about it. And that's with anything. And there's always an interruption sometimes to slow down, but I think we're always on the same page with, we have a choice of, no matter what it is. Sometimes we're powerless over everything else. It's choosing how to deal with it. And I think most recently, and I think we're all aligned, I was waiting for, this is where we're at. I just don't like when he says winners and losers. Sometimes it's the way he says it. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Like, there's not winners and losers, but in sports there are. But not if you played full out. Maybe you didn't win the game, but you gave it your best, and you weren't on the team that won. And that's where we go on we go down this rabbit hole. But it comes down to choice. And it's noticing all the time below the line emotions and not staying there. I feel frustrated. I feel resentment. I feel sad. I feel recognizing it. And we can do this at a dinner table with the kids, talking about it, hey, I'm frustrated, that ... and rise right above it. But it's solution based, and it's choosing not to have it linger, and recognize where there's joy, where there's happiness, what is also great about this moment in time. And we're dealing with a lot right now.
The other thing I think, and I don't mean to be too hard on other folks, but I think a lot of people set these incredible aspirations for themselves, and they're not willing to do the work. And
like what?
I'll give you an example. It's always easy to show up when you feel good and are your best, but on a day where you're feeling a little blue or you're not feeling well, physically or emotionally or something like that, or you don't feel like doing it, that separates the girls from the women and the boys from the men. Ultimately, it's you got to show up and play out full out every day, not just when you feel like it. And I think sometimes there's a lot of people that make excuses for that piece, and I think it's okay if you want to do that, but then don't expect the brass ring either. Don't expect to get the rewards that come from doing the work. And so I think that sometimes we forget that.
Yeah. And I would agree with that as well. And in that, I think we also agree that sometimes we need permission when you're all type A personalities and we go, 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 and it's a million miles an hour. One of the things that you do really well is when you're not working, you're not near your phone. I don't do that as well. And I didn't have a business where it ever shut down. It's, in another country, it's Monday morning. And it was really hard for us to kind of navigate through that. But you're really good at staying present and staying in the compartments. So when you're done with work, your phone isn't out. I am not as good at. I'm much better at not believing half the stuff I see on social media.
As Abe Lincoln said, Abe Lincoln's famous quote is, you can't trust the internet. That's what Abe says. I read that this morning on Facebook. You can't. What was the thing for me when the kids were young? I would go on vacation with them, and I'd find because it'd be like the middle of a workday, and the phone would be ringing, and there'd be 22 texts and 300 emails. And instead of taking some time away for myself, but more importantly, taking some time away with the kids, I found myself almost kind of in work mode and I was on my phone for hours at a time. And so what I then used to do is I don't have my finger. I think what I do is important, but I don't have my finger on the nuclear button. I'm not it's not what we're doing. It's life and death. They can't wait a couple of hours. And so what I would do is I would get up before the kids got up, and I'd be on the phone for an hour before they got up, and then I would lock my phone in the safe in the hotel, and then I would by 4 or 5 o'clock when we come back from maybe a day at the beach or a day on the golf course or a day to do something, I would then work the phone maybe for another half hour, an hour, and do what I had to do, and then lock it up again. And it gave me a little bit of break, so I had a little bit of space from it. But it also allowed me to really spend time with the kids. And I think it's the same thing in our relationship. Like, I think I owe you the fact that if I'm there, even if I'm tired, I should be present. And I shouldn't be on my phone the entire time. There's nothing crazier than to me to see a bunch of people like I saw, we're having a lot of friends over this weekend to watch their phones. I don't understand, why do you even get together with people who are on their phone? I just find it so rude. So the best way not to be on your phone is you don't want it buzzing in your pocket the whole time or looking at it because it's lighting up or something. The best way to have it is, not to have it. And so I try the best I can on the weekends or maybe after 9 or 10 o'clock at night during the week, not to have my phone. But the rest of the time I'm on like an animal,
Yeah. And truly work like an animal. Doesn't stop. And one of the things too, I think we do really well, and I think I talk about this a lot on here, we don't post everything we do. I would be posting all day, every day, good, bad, it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. But how much we do that isn't anybody else's business. It's just not where we are, who we're with, who we're out to dinner with. And I think, our generation talks about the younger generation, the downfall is social media. And well, social media has been great for a lot of businesses, for a lot of people, for a lot of things. And finding even at this stage in our lives how to best use it. Because all that stuff goes on too. Everybody just posts their fabulous vacations or if someone's dying, you see that constantly. I think what we do is we do a really good job of keeping our private life private. And it has allowed me to not only wear the same outfits over and over and over again. No, I'm just kidding. Because I know it's like, I wore that, it's at least 5 times on Facebook. I think about that. And people will say, oh, first world problems. Well, that's where I live and that's our life. And these are things that I stopped enjoying the moment, worrying about the picture, worrying about the video. And it was a scene. I was telling Bernie this the other day. It was a scene of like a concert or something, a parade or something. And it was all these young people and everybody had their phones out, except for this one lady who was probably my mother's age, 92, who was in the front with her head on her hands, taking it all in. And that's something too, I think we really, really do well. We're never looking to capture that moment for social media.
Well, I mean, obviously we use
You're
social
laughing.
media
Why
for
are you
business.
laughing?
I was going to say, I think the best part about social media is, you really just use it to see what your friends from high school got fat. I think that's, I think I'm just being facetious, but I think that there's nothing that kind of gets me frostier than you'll see like two men beating up a woman in New York City. And instead of trying to intervene, which could be dangerous, I understand that. Not everybody has the courage to interject in a fight or get a police officer or tell people to stop it or something. They get their phones out and are videotaping this beatdown as opposed to trying to help that person. Or if somebody has an accident, rather than running to call the police, they're filming the accident and filming the blood pouring out of the person's head rather than trying to get some help. And I'm thinking, where did we lose our sensitivity and where did we where did we stop caring about people? Because I think everything is about people, and I think the rest is, you know, is you know, where you show, when I think, as Eckhart Tolle says, when you realize that who you are is all you've got, you can decide the kind of person you want to be, and I want to be the person that helps that person in the accident, and not the person who's filming the accident. Unless I'm a cameraman for ABC or CNN or something.
Well, I think it goes right back to the internal versus the external, and it's our public identity versus our private identity, and what's more important. My private identity outweighs my public identity any day of the week. What everybody else thinks of me really is irrelevant. It's what I think of myself. It's learning every day. It's what brings joy to me matters because that brings joy to you and to the kids and to business and to my mom and my sister. And it has that domino effect. And I think that is the biggest lesson that most people, they don't realize that. And I think one of the reasons why social media has hurt so many people is they've played into this public identity. And it's just a false sense of reality. It doesn't really, it doesn't, what does it mean? It's an empty existence.
Well, I don't know if we've ever really talked about this, but, and I give people advice all the time about finance and economics and other things, but, I don't think I'm prepared to give people marriage advice. I'm not qualified to do it. I can only speak for myself, but I've been divorced. And what I learned from that is what I take in our relationship is that you're in our marriage, I'm in my marriage, but I almost look at the marriage as almost like a separate third person, and that it's our job, my job, our job to protect the marriage. And quite frankly, sometimes even when you have conversations like this on like a podcast, I'm uncomfortable in the sense that I don't necessarily want to share what's going on in our life with other people. I want to keep that special for us. And I also don't want to be out there, like we have all the answers to everything. We don't have the answers to anything, and so I don't want people to think, well, look at those two, like, oh, they've got, they know it all. They're giving a marriage. And we're not. It's every day. It's a learning experience and it's a way to improve and a way to, be a better version of you. And you do that every day. And I've learned that from you. And I've kind of, and that's what's important to me, that we figure that out. And so I'm with you on that. I'm with you. I think that, I always say when couples been together a long time, the ones that are the ones that are cheating are the ones that are most affectionate to each other in public, or they're putting all these amazing things about their spouse and themselves on social media. Those are the ones that are those are the ones you got to watch out for. But I don't know. I'm talking generalities.
What is your what is the best advice you could give to a young entrepreneur starting out right now? We've had some incredible guests on this show, and just drop some sound bites of, as a lawyer, this could preempt this from happening, or as a financial advisor, and you do so much more than just deal with finances. You deal with so much.
We help people create multi-generational wealth and a life by design. But I think that there's a book that so captured what we've done for a living. What I would say to an entrepreneur or to anybody else is that there's probably that we're talking about the 5 freedoms, and people have probably asked me 10,000 times. They say, "How do I grow my income? How do I grow my business? How do I grow my freedom of time to spend more time doing the things I want to do, take work less, do those kind of things? How do I have my freedom of relationships to spend more time with the people I choose to in my business or personal life? Or how do I have my freedom of purpose to have a purposeful life?" And I always thought that was the wrong question. You're one person, I'm one person, everybody watching this is one person. And I always thought that the right question was, who do we need to collaborate with to grow our income, our business, our freedom of time, relationships, and purpose? And I think the idea is that, I think what we both tried to do is, when you pour into people, not for months or for years, but for decades, you have an army of people that want to come back and help you. And not only so you can help other people, not just help yourself, but help other people. But the idea is the abundance that's being created by people that have a like mind, that want to be in a community of helping other people and making a difference in lives, is exponentially powerful. And to me, it's just that I can't get enough of that. And being around those kind of people that think in that abundant lifestyle.
What excites you about the future?
You told me there'd be no tough questions, so I would say that there's a lot that excites me about the future, but I think the thing you always want, and I think as people get closer to retirement, whether they're a professional athlete retiring from sports at 25 or 30 years old, or somebody retiring from a job at 60 or 70 years old, is I always think your future has to be bigger than your past. And I think that the key to a happy life, or the key to making people excited, is that I think that creating multi-generational wealth, which is available to anybody. But I used to think when I was young and I was broke, that was enough. Like in one of my favorite movies, comes out at Christmas every year, It's a Wonderful Life. And, everyone would agree that Mr. Potter has multi-generational wealth, but who wants to be Mr. Potter? If your spouse hates you, if you're sick, if your kids hate you, if you're miserable, who cares how much money you have? And so I think the aspirational piece, I think, for everybody, is to not only have multi-generational wealth, but to have a life by design. And what I mean by that is you aspire to have a life that's so great that you never have to retire from it. It's so great you never have to even take a vacation from it, because you're in creation and fascination mode every day. And I think that's the aspirational pitch for everybody else, that they can be the architects of their own future. And one of the things is to help them design that. And, obviously the money part is important, but the life by design is just as important.
I love that. And because of that, that's how we met. He helped me design the life that I wanted. And
I'm just glad you included me in that design. So I feel very fortunate to be in the plan.
He said, I was looking for a financial advisor, and he was looking for.
My advice to her was to date me, which I think was some of the best advice I've ever given to anyone. And I'm glad she took my advice.
So we want to thank you all for joining. And yeah, this isn't about marital advice at all. We don't know. We'll take yours. But it's about what works in a household where we both have careers. Mark runs a massive organization, has, tens of thousands of clients, on the board of so many different businesses. And we have 5 kids. We have real estate. We are the sandwich generation. And, we work on our marriage. So is it possible to have it all at the same time? I would say yes. But it definitely takes being able to keep things in. Why are you laughing? He's thinking of something. Go ahead.
No, no,
Go ahead, share.
no.
You got to tell everyone.
This is not my. All this stuff we're talking about today is definitely not my comfort zone or what I normally talk about. But I was laughing because I always, obviously we're incredibly proud of our 5 children. But what I always say, kind of tongue in cheek, is every time I talk to somebody about their children, they are the most magnificent children in the entire world. Every child's a valedictorian. Every person's a world-class athlete. Everyone's a Mensa person. They're a concert piano. They're everything. So, I just want to say we have 5 dumb kids. So, but that's not true. And, I want to see if you can cut that out, Lisa, because that comment alone, those kids are going to be the ones that put me in a nursing home. So I want to make sure that they are eventually. So I want to make sure I don't say anything bad about them, so they put me in a good home.
So, and on that note, there is we do have a funny story of the kids talking about each other, and we had Nick, who's going to be 19, talking about his sister. And she went through, just like every other kid, looking at schools and figuring it out, and went through a hard time. And he called it her rock bottom. And we laugh about it all the time. Mark calls her RB. And she'll say, oh my gosh, my rock bottom is like somebody else's hard day in this house. And we have to kind of laugh at it. And I think, I don't think, I'm just super grateful that I get to laugh with you every day about all of it, because we can't take ourselves too seriously.
Well, I appreciate spending this time with you.
I know, it's so nice. We actually got to hang out and share, and it feels really good. And I want to thank everyone for joining. Once again, I'm Lisa Murphy. This is my husband, Mark, and this is Elevate Wellness.